At PDAC 2017, I'm pleased to be with Adrian Day, founder and president of Adrian Day Asset Management. Adrian, thank you for taking the time for this.
Thank you.
Yeah, so talk to us about your talk that you gave. What are the effects under Trump for gold?
Yeah, the topic of my talk was gold under Trump, and what I was basically saying was, there's good and bad, and I'm talking purely from the point of view of economics and its effect on gold. There's things that would be positive for gold, there's things that would be negative for gold. Now, the positive about Trump are his plans to cut taxes, to simplify taxes, and to simplify regulation for small business. And that's why we've seen the stock market go up so much, and that's why we've seen small business optimism just explode since he was elected. It's to do with those economic policies. If the administration was able to effect those changes in a meaningful way, and shortly, without getting distracted, that would be very, very positive for the U.S. economy, very positive for the stock market. Frankly, it would be positive for the dollar and negative for gold. So we have to ask ourselves, do we really think that we're only going to get the best of Trump, what I call the best of Trump, and we're not going to get any of the distractions, to use a polite term? I don't think so.
Why is that?
Because of Trump's personality, number one, and frankly his platform. I mean, you only have to look at, if he does everything in his platform, it's going to be a disaster for the United States and extremely positive for gold. I mean, it's been proven over and over and over again. You can talk all you like about workers who are displaced, and you can feel sorry for them, and we need to do something for that. But the idea of protectionism and raising prices at Walmart by 25% for poor people hardly helps poor people. Protectionism, we know, is bad for the economy, it's bad for poor people, it's bad for the economy, and it's bad for the stock market.
Right.
So that's the worst thing he could do other than start a war, but that's the worst thing that we're likely to see under Trump.
Right. And analysts are saying that he's doing good for the very rich, but not very much for the middle class. Your comments on that?
I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, people often say to me, they said this about Bush's tax cuts, about Reagan's tax cuts. He cut taxes, but most of the tax cuts went to the rich. Of course, or or whatever they say these days. Of course most of the tax cuts went to the rich. They're the ones that are paying most of the taxes.
Well, we hope.
So, yes. So, no, I think he has made it clear he wants to cut taxes for the middle class. He wants to cut taxes for the poor. What we don't want is another entitlement policy for the poor, which, will only grow and balloon. So, if we can get a broad-based tax cut and simplification, that would be positive for the economy, no question.
Right. And at PDAC, what sort of sentiment is around the air?
That's interesting. Yeah. In 2011-12, it was manic. This year, we're not seeing that kind of extreme sentiment, but we're beginning to see people realistically positive on the market and on companies. And I think that's the sweet spot. And things are still cheap. If you look at the gold stocks, or gold relative to the S&P, that is gold relative to stocks, we're at 10-year lows. If you look at the valuations on gold stocks, the big cap stocks, if you look at the valuations on those stocks, we are very, very, very close to 20-year lows.
Right.
So stocks and golden stocks are still very cheap despite the rally we've had.
So you're telling your investors to buy now?
Absolutely.
And are there any other commodities that you're bullish on right now?
Yeah, we're very bullish on copper. As long as the demand from China stays reasonably strong, it doesn't have to go up. The supply side is very, very positive for gold, both in copper, both in the immediate sense with Escondida and with Indonesia, but also longer term. There's no major new copper projects, really big copper projects on the drawing board. So you look out 5 years or 10 years, and you can easily see a deficit in copper. So we're very positive on copper. I think some of them, like uranium, for example, the uranium stocks, I think, have moved too far, too fast. So I would be patient on uranium.
Okay. Any other comments today at PDAC that you'd like to mention for our audience?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think this is definitely a time to be buying gold and silver, but I think it's also a time to be particularly selective, because the major mining companies are not throwing money at juniors willy-nilly.
Right.
They are only giving money on really good projects. And the truth is that there are very few good projects. So just be very, very selective.
Well, Adrian, thank you for your insights today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.